Hey farmers, Michael here from Growing Farmers and the Farm on Central, and I wanted to talk about how when we got to this farm, there had been 11 pesticides sprayed on this farm the last year, and so we are working to regenerate the soil. So as you can see here, I've got actually a handful of what looks like corn, but this actually is Johnson grass, which is actually, some people call it a weed, some people call it a forage. It's a nasty weed because it's got rhizomes. You can see these rhizomes, serious rhizomes, go through the soil and cause problems. But one of the things when we bought this farm was I'm always going to try to research how the land had been used. So this is about an 8-acre field. You can see we go on the edge all the way around. There's 6 acres that are field and were being used for conventional crops. And we'll put some pictures of when we first got to the farm, what it looked like. Much different than this, let's put it that way. But those 11 herbicides, there were some nasty ones. There was atrazine, there was 2,4-D being used, dicamba was being used, Roundup, a host of other ones on there as well. And so we were actually really kind of concerned if we would actually be able to put a crop in here this year. And as you can see, it's here. So what did we do? So obviously first was I contacted the spray company that sprayed this field, and they have to keep records of what is sprayed. So they went back, got me the things, just sent me the pictures of the spray tickets. And again, I know the owner of the spray company, so it's super nice for me to send that over to me. And the next thing we did is I sought advice. So I wasn't really sure on some of these how long they would stay in the soil, and some of them are nasty. And so I called actually my friend Andre in New Hampshire, who's expert on a lot of things in that realm. And he said, Michael, some of those are nasty chemicals. So what he needed me to do was do a test. So what we did is we brought out some oats and peas, and I put them around and kind of worked them into the soil a little bit, irrigated it, to see if they would germinate. Because he said if those will germinate, then you're off to a good start. You can plant anything. And we did that. They took a little longer than I wanted to germinate, but they did come up. And the reason we were able to come on only 12 months after, or actually probably only 10 months after the last spray on this field, was because of the type of soil. So this is more of a sandy loam here. And if I can throw that down, you can kind of see it's a great soil, beautiful soil, a lot of sand in it. Good structure, soil structure to that. And the thing with this kind of soil is it allows the water just to flow right down through it. And that leached out those herbicides. So every farm's different. You have to test. If you're in a heavy clay, it would probably take 2 years to get those chemicals out of there. But because of the soil type, we were able to get that out ASAP. Now, again, it grew great. I mean, we could have some, obviously we don't have soil that didn't have herbicide on it, so we can't do an A-B comparison. But the crops, the beans are looking good. We've got here Hackerite turnips. And the weeds came back. If you notice, look at all these weeds. Again, we showed you the Johnson grass. Got some vining weeds here. We've got pigweed here. There was, right here is, I believe this is Creeping Charlie, is sometimes known as Creeping Charlie. Right here would be carpet weed. Whoops, this is carpet weed here. And we had bindweed and field milkweed. Another one would have been the velvet leaf, was a serious one we also saw, as well as Virginia creeper. And even we found a bunch of different sections of actually poison ivy came in too. So again, there was a wide variety of weeds just waiting for those herbicides to wear off, and they just came to the surface and started growing. So what we did, we did a couple different cultivations, just to try to knock those weeds back. And then what we did is seeded this thick cover crop over here. And let's walk over and take a look at that cover crop. All right, so here we've got the cover crop that we installed on top of the soil. And it's a 8-way cover crop, so there's a host of different species in here. I'm not going to go into the species because I've done a whole video on that, and I'll link to that below. But what you can see is just how thick it is. So we made sure when we seeded this, we overseeded to make sure that there wasn't a lot of light each in the ground, because what that does is going to starve out those weeds. So again, we did the couple cultivations to get any of the weeds that were already there, and then seeded this thickly, and it came up and hopefully drowned out some of those weeds. Now, we had to go through a few times and just walk the field and pick out any weeds that survived the cultivation, so that definitely happened. But you can see now you just got a field of sunflowers, which will hopefully be next week when they're really starting to take off. So there you go. that's what we did to manage the 11 types of herbicides. Again, if we had a choice, we probably wouldn't have liked to see those on here, and it will take a couple years for the dynamic soil life to 100% come back to the soil. But this is that first step, putting it in thick cover crop, getting the bioactivity back up, and bringing in the critters into the soil. So go ahead, like our channel, subscribe, check out our resources below. We got all sorts of great resources for farmers to help them grow their farms and thrive.